All right, let's get this show on the road. If you guys haven't met Rob before, this is Rob Fuentes. He is the owner of Alaska's Bearclaw Lodge, which is the official provider of the Backwoods Alaska fly fishing experience. I don't know, how many years have we been sending clients to you, Rob?
I think some of the first groups came back in 2008 and 9.
Okay, so 12 years of a very fruitful partnership, I think, for both of us. So it's been fun. A lot of fish have been caught, a lot of memories have been made. And today, Rob's just going to give us a rundown of the lodge, introduce himself, introduce the operation he's got up there in Alaska. And then we'll have a little Q&A towards the end and open it up to questions from everybody else. So if you have a question for Rob, now or at any point during the presentation, just pop that into chat and I'll read that off when it comes time. So without further ado, take it away, Rob. I'm going to run slideshow while you're talking.
Perfect. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate the opportunity, and also thank Backwoods. This has been a win-win, I think, for both of us. It started out with Stephen Woodcock back in 8 or 9, and with his first experimental trip, and then it just has evolved from there. And every year we just have a great group of folks. So we appreciate the support from Backwoods. So Alaska's Bearclaw Lodge. Alaska's Bearclaw Lodge was actually started in about 1998, and we're located in the southwest area of Alaska, the Bristol Bay region, just outside of Dillingham, Alaska. Dillingham is 350 miles southwest of Anchorage. So it was founded in 1998. We got involved in about 2002, and that's when we kind of took it over. So, a lot of people ask, some of the first questions is, how did I find myself in Alaska, or how did somebody from Texas find their way to Alaska? And that's a great question and a long story, and we can say that one for another time. But I was a biologist for the Brazos River Authority for several years, and then this opportunity came about, and it looked a little bit more fun, even though I had a cool job there. And so we jumped on the opportunity and brought my young family up and started to learn about what it is to be in Alaska. But our location, Bristol Bay area, where the lodge is located, is and we didn't know any of this coming in, is probably, in my opinion, the best area of Alaska, Bristol Bay. We have such variety in our area. We get all 5 species of salmon, rainbow trout, Arctic char, grayling, dolly varden, and northern pike. And so it gives folks a lot of opportunity depending on what time of the season they want to come, what they want to target. Good thing is, it doesn't matter when you come. Every day is a good fishing day, and you're going to catch multiple species, even if 1 or 2 aren't willing to cooperate. Getting to Alaska is not as big a challenge as many people think. It is a big trip, and it can be expensive, but the logistics are not that bad. So in coming to our area, it's a pretty straightforward way. So we're located in Dillingham, Alaska, and the airport code is Delta Lima Gamma, DLG. And so folks can, at that point in time, look from their home state, their city, to Dillingham. And typically, most carriers now go through the Seattle area, then to Anchorage, and then straight over to Dillingham. So we have commercial service all the way there. It's really handy to have that, particularly being in Bush, Alaska, and being remote where we are. So getting to us is, it's really not that big a deal. Once our guests get to the airport, we'll meet them there. We'll load them up in our vans. We got vans and shuttle buses. We'll bring them down about a 25-mile drive to the lake, and then a 10-mile boat ride from the landing to where the lodge is located. So again, having a great remote experience and location, but still easily accessible. Our lodge is designed, we're small, and it's intentional behind that. I actually have about 13 acres out there. I own a whole peninsula, but we only do 10 guests at a time. A large part of that is we like the small setting. We like the quality of the experience with small settings. I have another camp called Alaska Kingfishers, and it's completely the opposite. We can do 30 plus guests there. Still a great experience, different experience, but the small experience is kind of unique in itself, and it's pretty neat. The lodge is set up for double occupancy, so our rooms are set up for 2 guests in each room. Some rooms have shared baths, and we have some rooms that have private baths. We do have rooms that are designed, a couple of rooms that are designed for couples, so we can accommodate some couples, but all the rooms are set up for have two folks in there. A typical day at the lodge, once you're there and once we set it, so our trips are 6 nights, 5 days. You come in on a Sunday, you fish Monday through Friday and leave on Saturday. And then you're always welcome to bring whatever gear you want to, but if something goes wrong with your gear, we have plenty of waders, all the fly gear, all the tackle. We provide all the tackle anyways. So we have extra stuff should any of your own equipment fail. And so once you come in on a Sunday, we get you out to the lodge, and then we start fishing on Monday. And so a typical day at the lodge is breakfast is at 8 o'clock. You're on vacation. So there's no reason to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. It doesn't matter anyway, because the sun's up about 19 hours of daylight during the June through September timeframe or mid-August timeframe. And so anyway, so there's no need to get up that early. Breakfast is at 8. Most guests, again, these trips are for your leisure, and so you can be as aggressive and scarf your food down in 5 minutes, and your guides are waiting for you at the boat, or you can take your time as long as you want, and your guides are going to still be waiting for you on the boat. So again, the trips are designed to be relaxing. You can fish as hard as you want or as little as you want. That part is on you. We're just going to be ready and available. So once you finish breakfast, you'll head down to the boat, meet your guide. The guide will take you out. Usually the night before at dinner time, we have a board that discusses who's going where and with whom, and you get a chance to talk to them about that. So you'll load up, head out, and hit the water fishing. Some point in the day, you'll have lunch about midday. We used to do shoreline lunches, and they're really cool. But over the years, most of our guests say they love them, but they take up too much fishing time. So we've evolved into transitioning to we take out prepared lunches so that whenever you're ready, you can stop on the riverbank, eat your lunch, and then keep going. We'll generally have guests back to the lodge by 5:30 in the afternoon. We'll have appetizers. Dinner's usually at 6:30. And then if you didn't get enough, you can still go out in the back. We have some kayaks and some boats that you can go out and chase pike around the lodge. And but most people typically are whipped pretty good. You'll always have a handful that want to keep going. And then at the end of the week, once the trip is over, we collect you. We'll get you back to the airport to make your connecting flights. So pretty easy trip overall. Some of the things that you'll want to keep in mind as you plan a trip to Alaska, whether it's on the backwoods trip or whether it's in a different time frame, some of the key items to consider is the timing of the runs. All season long, we can always catch the native species, which we'll call rainbow trout, Arctic char, grayling, northern pike. And the salmon are the ones that come in, have a little bit different schedule. And so usually the way that it progresses is you'll have the king, sockeyes, and chum in the June, July timeframe, silvers in the August timeframe. Got a little 2-week window right there that while we don't call those weeks salmon week just because historically there are some years that it's been pretty lean. There's been other years, like actually the last several, that the sockeye fishing goes well through the end of July. But we'll sell those last or talk about those last 2 weeks as being more of the best time for dry fly fishing for rainbows and grayling. And so when somebody asks us the question, I want to go chase kings or I want to go chase silvers. So we just want to make sure they understand that I wish we could catch every single thing at the same time, but unfortunately that's just not how the salmon run. And so when somebody does consider a trip and they want to target a specific salmon species, then that's one of your main questions that you'll want to ask is what time do they run in our area? Because the same species can run down in Southeast Alaska a little bit different, can run in Central Alaska in a little bit different timing. So be sure and ask with timing about the questions. Like I said, pretty easy trip overall, where we will, every week's a good week. There's always something to catch. And it just makes it easy for guests because they can come in And if they've got a species list they want to tackle, a lot of times folks get 4 or 5 in just the first day. And so it provides a great opportunity for, so the lodge and where we're located isn't just for adults or experienced fly fishermen. These are our setup is a small family business. It's a safe environment for family trips in addition to just guide trips. So it's a great place for all levels and for families and or individuals. So it makes it very accommodating for everybody.
Nice. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. That's some really good information there. Again, if anybody has a specific question for Rob, throw that in the chat section, and we'll answer that in a little bit. I did have a couple of questions of my own, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
You mentioned very briefly there at the end that this isn't, this is more of a family operation and caters to family experiences. This isn't just for the hardcore Alaska fly fishermen. Would you say that this is a good trip for first timers? That person who wants to go to Alaska and fly fish, they just don't know how. Is this a good place to start?
It is. And so I always caution the first timers about coming out here, because inevitably what ends up happening is that it will spoil you for the rest of your life, in the sense of it will be relatively easy to catch fish up here, and then you'll go to other places and you'll be like, gosh, I'm having to work a little bit hard. So the answer is absolutely yes. We're fortunate to have large populations of rainbow trout in our home waters. The Gulawak River is one of our main rivers that we fish. Fish and Game has made a couple of claims, has the highest density of trout per mile of any other river in the state, has the best dry fly fishing for rainbows of anywhere else in the state. So yes, as a first-time fisherman, for folks, I tell people, don't worry about your catch. We always encourage folks to go to their local fly shops, go to backwoods, get a few lessons, get the fundamentals under your belt so that you don't come out here just with no experience. And just with that little bit of a head start, then we will help you be better. All of my guides are professional fishing guides. Most of them have been with me for several years. And so they all can help instruct and help fine tune or provide some assistance should a person be struggling. But it's kind of like what I've shared with folks with a fly fish or a fly cast. There are some fundamental motions in there, but it's like a gosling. Everybody's fly cast is a little different. As long as you get it out there in our area, you're going to be successful. I've had guys that slap the water with using dry flies. That's the best they could do, and they were successful. I've had guys that have long, beautiful casts and can cast half across the river. I'm going to say half the time they're not that much more successful than somebody that only can cast 10 or 15 feet. So we're just blessed to have a lot of fish, which increases the odds quite a bit. So great time for first-time fishermen.
Nice. And this is pretty generally in the Bristol Bay region of Alaska. What makes this area different than the rest of the state in terms of fly fishing?
Yeah, so Bristol Bay is blessed to have the largest runs of salmon of anywhere else in the world, particularly the Nushagak River drainage and the Kvichak River drainage. Dillingham is located in Nushagak Bay. And so on average, from a commercial fishing standpoint, they're harvesting usually 40 to 50 million sockeye salmon in the Nushagak district. We typically get 1.8 to 3 million sockeye come up the Wood River. That's our system, our watershed, just in itself. And so just having those humongous salmon runs allows for the opportunity for a lot of the other species to thrive, particularly the rainbow trout, the grayling, the char, dolly vardens. And so everything has kind of grown and evolved around the salmon runs. And so having all of that there provides you obviously a lot of the catching opportunities, just like we just previously mentioned. But the variety is the other main benefit of the Bristol Bay region. having all 5 species of salmon, having the rainbow trout, having the Arctic char, the grayling, the dolly varden, which come in August, northern pike. So you can catch fish all across the state, and a lot of the other state have remarkable and phenomenal fisheries. But from what I've learned and in my experience, most of the rest of the state, you're going to catch 2 or 3 species, not as many as 10 different species, potentially at the same time, even when some of the salmon species are in their transition weeks. So the variety is, and the volume of returning spawning salmon is what makes Bristol Bay special.
Nice. It is, like most of the state, to be honest, it is pretty remote out there. How close is help if there's a true emergency?
Yep. So we are between driving and a boat ride 1 hour from Dillingham, Alaska. So on most emergencies, like somebody gets a hook in their ear and we can't get it out, or something of that nature that isn't critical, we can easily get to the local hospital there in Dillingham, and they have all the capabilities of stabilizing just about everything. Should the worst happen and something even more tragic happens, we have access to the troopers out there. They have helicopters that will come and like a care flight. And so while we are still remote, I would say within an hour or less is a typical response for a care flight in our particular area. But for most normal things that happen, minor cuts, bruises, hooking yourself that we can't tend to ourselves, then all of our staff is first aid certified and trained. But if there's something that we're not comfortable with that we need to get more, we're an hour away from doorstep to doorstep, from the lodge to the hospital. So pretty close.
Nice. So how long does it take to get from Anchorage to Dillingham?
Yep, that's a great question. So the flight from Anchorage to Dillingham, so we only have one carrier now, which is Alaska Airlines, and they use jets. So it's about an hour flight from Anchorage to Dillingham. If another carrier comes back around, like Penn Air or Raven Air, they use twin props Saabs. So the carries, I think, about 30, 40 people in those planes. And those are about an hour and 20-minute flight. So usually what I tell folks as they're planning their trip, and most folks ask the question, can I get there in one day, or do I need to stay the night coming or going? The answer typically is most people can get to Dillingham in the same day. You have time working on you, the 3-hour difference or 4-hour difference or 1 or 2 hour, depending what time zone you're in. And so we leave out of Texas, out of the Dallas airport. We can leave about 7 in the morning and be in Dillingham by 3 in the afternoon. So if somebody doesn't mind about an 8-hour day in the air with a couple of stops, that's what I would prefer to do. Some folks like to not take that long a trip, but it's still going to be roughly 7 hours from central US to Anchorage, about 4 hours to the coast, to the West Coast. So as you look at your itinerary, obviously folks just want to consider whatever's best for their scenario. But yes, you can get there in the same day, so it saves a little bit on having to stay and overnight on the way in. Going out, always more difficult going out. Most flights leaving Dillingham and connecting to your where you came from are going to be most likely red-eye flights, unless you want to stay the night in Anchorage and then take an early morning flight out.
Yeah, we my family and I took a trip to Alaska this summer, non-fishing trip, and no matter how you slice it, flying from Texas to Alaska is just a beating, and flying back is an even longer trip. So it's going to be a trek no matter what you do.
That's it. But it's comfortable.
What are the meals like? You mentioned that you like to, take things easy in the morning, and then, maybe have something a little more utilitarian for lunch. But talk to us about, what you serve for breakfast and what you serve for dinner and what kind of snacks are available.
Yeah, so we do provide some really nice home cooked meals. Rarely have I ever heard that somebody says I was hungry. Most of the time I'm getting complaints about how they gain weight during that week and now they got to go work it off somehow. So we try to look at things a couple of different ways. Yes, we serve a lot of, I'm going to just call it bad food, a lot of sweets, a lot of really good tasting rich food. But we do try to be conscious about the meals. So breakfast can be anything from just your normal pancakes to gourmet omelets to some kind of egg bakes. Lunches, we typically don't just do just plain Jane-O sandwiches. Most of the time we're doing salmon salad sandwiches, chicken salad sandwiches. A lot of times we have made customized, so we make a lot of our own bread there. There'll be a certain type of bread for this sandwich or that sandwich. So we try to make everything nice as far as in that goes. Dinner appetizers can be anything from smoked salmon bellies to salmon bites to just all kinds of different things that again, rarely hear any complaints about. Dinners, folks, a lot of folks would love to eat salmon every night. If I did that, I'd have a mutiny with staff. And so we will serve salmon about 2 nights of the week, cooked a couple of different ways. A lot of times we'll cook one just grilled, and then another we'll do that in some other fashion. But then we're serving ribeye steaks, pork tenderloins. Every now and then, some years we'll do a kind of a Texas thing because that's where we're from. You know, we'll do a barbecue night with some ribs and all kinds of goodies. So and then we always have desserts, and folks love the desserts. And like I said, I don't know that any of the desserts are really healthy for you, but they sure taste good.
Nice. All the comforts of home.
It is.
What other sorts of creature comforts do you have at Bearclaw Lodge? Wi-Fi, TV, things like that.
Yeah, great question. So we have all the amenities of a home. We do not have a TV, nor will I ever get one out there as long as I'm involved. We get enough of that back home. And so, so we have 24/7 power. We provide our power using generators, batteries, and inverters. So folks having any specialized equipment like CPAP machines and other things, we always have 24/7 power. Do we have glitches occasionally? Absolutely, but it's just a matter of me having to go out and flip a switch or something. So 24/7 power. We draw water from the lake and have both mechanical and chemical filtration. We have on-demand diesel-powered hot water heaters, so no one has to be in a rush to get in for showers and fear that they're going to run out of hot water. It's unlimited. As long as we don't run out of water, we don't run out of hot water. And so it provides all the creature comforts of home. We do have Wi-Fi. We have, at the lodge itself, we do have cellular connection, but you have to use our phone because outside services don't work once you leave Anchorage. But we have GCI service and it's Bluetooth to our phone. So you have a way for family or anybody back home can call directly there. But last several years, calling over Wi-Fi has been working really well. And so most people just call over Wi-Fi and it hasn't been an issue. So, anyways, but as far as the creatures of home, it's been all good in that area in the sense of that it makes it easy. You come in, you're comfortable, you have everything that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this one's for me. This is my personal question.
Yep.
Talk to me about bears.
I've only been charged once, if that helps.
It doesn't.
Yeah. No, we're real fortunate over the years. So I'll say in about the first half of the time we've been up there, it was rare to see a bear. And somewhere, I'm guessing around 6 or 7, it really ramped up. Now we see bears fairly regularly on the river. They don't want to eat you. They just want to do their thing. They want to catch fish. They're looking up and down. So I am definitely not afraid of bears, but I respect them greatly. They are incredible animals. They can climb a cliff. They can run as fast as the boat's going in the water, and so I tell people the bottom line is if they want you, they're going to get you, but they don't want you. And so we do carry most of the staff, depending on where they're fishing, will carry bear spray and or firearms. A lot of guests ask, do I need to bring my own? You really don't. And the main reason I try to instruct guests about that is, unless you train regularly, I said sometimes those situations happen so quickly that you will not even have the time to think about how to pull it out of wherever you're keeping it and be able to take, a decent shot. So usually as a guide, we're always watchful of what's happening and aware of the surroundings. And we always encourage guests to be the same way. And so if we see something and the bear doesn't want, normally they see us, they get out of the way and they just go back up in the bush and they go around us and then they'll get back on there and keep going. But if we felt uncomfortable in any way, we just gather everybody together, get them in the boat, give them their space, let them move on, then we can go back to fishing. There in the Wood Tick Chick Park area, there hasn't been a documented bear attack. So, I can come up with a couple of reasons why that is, but I think genuinely if there were issues that got that close or that severe, we would know about it. Like I said, most bears just want to do their thing, which is eat salmon and catch fish just like we do. So they're there. We watch them, we respect them, but certainly not afraid of them.
Nice. Well, you made me feel a lot better, genuinely. That is nice to know that they're not worth fearing, but they are worth respecting. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, much like bears, I love to eat salmon as well.
Uh-huh.
Is it possible? I mean, how does it work if I want to take some salmon home with me after my trip? How does that work?
Yeah, that's an easy one for us. So obviously, we always encourage catch and release. We catch and release all of the native species. So the trout, char, grayling, dolly bar, northern pikes, we will not keep any of those. Any of the salmon you catch, you are absolutely welcome to take them. The limits are very liberal in our area. Other than the kings, all the other 4 species are 5 per person per day. So we have the capacity, the freezer capacity for each guest to take 1 50-pound box home. So when you decide to keep salmon, when we bring them back, we'll fillet them, vacuum pack them, freeze them, and provide a wax box, an airline approved wax box for you to take them back home with you. That's the most economical way. There isn't any services in Dillingham to ship them home. So you'll check them in as part of your luggage. Inside the wax box, we'll put what we call a space blanket. It's like a foil bubble liner. Any trips within 24 hours, you're absolutely safe with your catch there. Sometimes a little outer portion will thaw out, but the core is solid and the whole box is cold. No issue there. It is safe to refreeze because they're vacuum sealed. If your trip is going to take longer than 24 hours to get home, most of the time you're having to stay the night somewhere. So you'll want to make arrangements if you're having to pull your luggage out and recheck it, that you can either, your hotel has the way to keep your catch frozen in one of their freezers. Anchorage Airport has an on-site freezer storage, $20 a day, where you can leave your catch there if you're going to try to do some other things before you head home. A lot of the airlines on the West Coast are set up to accommodate this type of stuff, and they usually can. Same thing goes for a lot of the hotels, but very easy to catch fish, us process them, and you to take them home.
Nice. Alaska has thought of everything, truly. Speaking of kings,
yeah,
king salmon has been on my bucket list for a long time, Rob.
Yep.
What do I need to know?
So in our area, we are located next to the Nushagak River. I actually have another camp called Alaska Kingfishers, which targets kings on the Nushagak River. That camp is a little different style than Bearclaw. It's a river camp, a tent camp, but it's more like luxury camping. Everything's on wooden platform. We also have power, running water, flushing toilets. Everything's accommodated for there as well. So the Nushagak River is Alaska's #1 river with the largest returning run of kings anywhere else in the state. Typically, usually on average, 100,000 is the return. You're allowed to take 4 total. So but you have to come in the June, July timeframe. So we target kings from around June 20th through July 14th. You can catch them a little earlier, and you can catch them. The season actually ends July 31st. But we target them kind of in that sweet spot, in the sense of if they were to come a little late, little early, on either end of it. In most years, those 4 weeks are pretty safe to be there. So so when you want to go, you'll want to try to go between June 20th and 14th of July. A lot of our guests fish them a variety of ways. Most of our Bearclaw guests do try to swing flies for them, but they'll end up switching over to gear fishing. Most of our guests at Kingfishers will gear fish for them. Main reason is if you like the challenge, swing flies. If you want to catch a bunch, then consider using gear. We can fish, because it's a little bit different style of fishermen for the gear fishermen. We can fish up to 4 in a boat. And usually it's not uncommon for a group of 4 guys in a boat, or 4 fishermen in a boat, to land 30 to 60 kings a day. It can be very productive. Swinging flies, sometimes we get guys that'll catch 1, 2, or 3. We've had guys catch 15 or so swinging flies. So it's much more challenging. Our water is not, we don't have the best water for swinging flies, because we're on the lower portion of the river. So we have a lot deeper water, a lot more volume, but there are some areas that we can still do it and be successful. So bottom line is, we can accommodate both the fly fishermen and gear fishermen, but for kings, you'll have to focus in on that first part of the season, the mid-June through mid-July timeframe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. One last question, and then I think we have a couple of chats that I need to look at, but and it's unfortunate that we have to keep asking this question in 2020, but how have the realities of COVID-19 changed things for your operation?
Yeah, it was difficult this year because we actually had to cancel the season. Not because we couldn't do things at the lodge to keep people safe, because of the travel restrictions coming into Dillingham. So Dillingham has a population of less than 3,000 people. They were allowed to add additional mandates above and beyond what the state did. And so anyways, it was really difficult because you had to actually have a permit to come into Dillingham. And then obviously most of the summer they were requiring the 14-day quarantine period. Hopefully all that's behind us. And if by chance it's not, and we still have to deal with quarantine issues or travel issues, it was possible to jump through a bunch of hoops and operate. Bottom line is, next year we're going to operate one way or the other. And we'll follow all the rules and protocols that's required or recommended. But I think we have options on how to fly directly in from Anchorage should we have the same scenario. But I'm hopeful that we're not going to have this issue come next spring and next summer, and that all this will be behind us. But if by chance it is, we'll have options to have a season next year. Nice.
Yeah, I remember when we flew into Anchorage in August, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
We had to bring a negative test and all that good stuff. But it didn't end up being that big a deal. But hopefully by next July, this business is cleared up.
I'm with you.
All right, let's see. We had Jesse asked a question about taking fish home, which you answered. Is that a hybrid trout salmon? Jesse, you want to unmute and explain what you were asking there?
Oh, yeah, Robert Jones, you had flashed a picture of a salmon that looked like a hybrid, and I wasn't sure if that was actually what I saw.
Is this the one?
I bet what you saw was a Dolly Varden. A colorful looking fish.
Yeah, it looked like it had the head of a salmon, but the coloring and spotting of a trout. So I wasn't sure.
Is it that one right there?
Yeah, that fish right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Dolly Varden. So Dolly Varden and Arctic char are cousins. And the difference is the Arctic char, and a lot of times those two names are used interchangeably throughout the state of Alaska, but the true definition, and you can look on this on the Fishing Game website, the Arctic char stay in the freshwater their whole life. The dolly varden, like in that picture, live in the salt water, come in the fresh water to spawn, and they go back out. So it's kind of like a rainbow steelhead, and the dolly is similar to that, like a char, but it's the one that goes to salt water and back. So yeah, those will start coming in around the end of July, and the longer they're in season, the longer they're around, the more colorful they get. And usually by the time we leave, well, they usually spawn somewhere around the end of August, 1st of September, and you know, give or take a few weeks on either side of that. But they're pretty awesome. We catch a lot of them.
Yeah, that fish looks beautiful. Love to put one of them in my hands.
Yeah, some of the biggest char we've caught have been, 31, 32 inches. So good 10-pound plus Arctic char.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Cool.
Thanks, Jesse. Thank you, Rob, so much for your time and for sharing so much information about Alaska Bearclaw Lodge with us. That was really, really great. Looking forward to next year's trips. We have, I believe, 4 dates scheduled with you for July and August of 2021. Those are live right now at backwoods.com/adventures. And October is our big, calendar release month. We've got all of our trips live for 2021. So if you want to book a trip for next year, just go to backwoods.com/adventures, and we have killer pricing on prime dates for all of our most popular adventures. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you, Rob. How can someone get in contact with you if they have more questions about fly fishing in Alaska?
Yep. Obviously, you can get a lot of our contact information through you guys, through Backwoods, or you can look at our websites, bearclawlodge.com. On there, there's all kind of ways that you can either call me, email me, text me. Always happy to talk about it, talk about how the season plays out, what are you looking for, and how to really fine tune and build a package for what you're looking to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Rob. We're going to sign off for now, but it was good talking to you, and enjoy your winter in Texas.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, appreciate it.